Welcome back to the Human Taurus podcast with me, Max Harvey. My dear pal, Calkins, polydimensional healer and human potential unlocker, modern day Taoist wizard, is back with us all for the Human Taurus podcast to share his wealth of knowledge and experience on how we can all better understand and work with our beautiful human bodies to maximize our body's innate repair system, otherwise known as our stem cells. We cover a lot in this episode. We recorded this conversation in September 2024, and due to various factors, and that it was recorded in a few segments, I finally edited it all together. So, without further ado, please welcome back brother Calkins on the subject of stem cells.
Yeah, when I was reopening the tonic bar, I really started to learn about Klamath blue-green algae. And then I learned from the company, from the reps, and from the nutrition manager, everyone, how Klamath blue-green algae boosted white blood cells, natural killer cells that will actually migrate out of your blood vessels and go into nearby tissue, how it had anti-cancer properties, antiviral properties, and how it how it boosted stem cells from the bone marrow. Through the blue pigment, the anthocyanin, the purple pigment, and the BEA, the brain benefits, and how it had 22 different amino acids that have a short polypeptide chain. So it's like a 70% net protein utilization index rate. The amino acids in Klamath blue-green algae are short polypeptides. They have a low molecular weight. They're very easy to digest and absorb. Compared to red meat, you only absorb 35%. There's only about 35% BPS, body protein synthesis, meaning when you eat, 30 grams of protein from some grass-fed ground beef, 30% of that, it will take 6 hours to fully digest those amino acids. And for your liver to separate the amino acids, turn them into free form, put them back together, fully digest it. And the other 70% of that red meat are toxins, protein aggregates, nitrogen catabolites. It's work, stress on the kidneys. You got to have strong, healthy kidneys. When you get older, we all wear out our kidneys. We lose that glomerular filtration rate, the GFR, and people end up with kidney disease and then need kidney transplants. So part of the Jing is protecting the kidneys using Jing tonic herbs. And so, you don't want to be careful if you're planning to live long and not need any organ transplants. The filter organs, the liver and kidney, 2 organs that wear out for most people before the other organs and prevent you from reaching your full longevity. You need to take care of those organs. So
just on that, would you say that they wear out mainly because of things like the standard American diet, etc., and people's living habits? We're not really.
They wear out because of pharmaceutical medication, because of high level of PFAS chemicals, toxins, hexavalent chromium, heavy metals, drugs, personal care products, xenoestrogens. They wear out because the chemicals, man-made toxins and drugs, they wear out even from overdosing synthetic supplements that you're not aware of. If you don't understand the type of supplement you're taking and research it and what it does, some people, I've hurt my liver in the past, actually at one point quite severely. And if it wasn't for having a medical intuitive and knowing how to test myself, I wouldn't have actually realized. And I was just being a little desperate, taking harsher detox supplements to control a relapse of old infection. And at that time, those harsh supplements were the only supplements I knew that were helping me get rid of this infection. But I didn't know enough about health to understand that if I take high doses of some of these supplements for, slightly longer periods of time, they're getting very hard on my liver and kidneys, especially the liver. And I got down to 30-40% liver function at one point. I was damaging my liver really bad. And I learned a valuable lesson from that. And now I changed my whole program. And I've found supplements that can boost the immune system and that can help you deal with chronic infections or any type of infectious disease that are 100% liver kidney friendly and are tonic, meaning that you can take them every day. They're safe. And they're pleiotropic, meaning they don't just help with this disease or infection. They're going to cross over and have a bunch of other multi-benefits because there's only so much room and time in the day. I've taken so many supplements in the past. I've gone through so many different regimes. I've overdosed, I've guinea pigged, I've experimented, and it's been awesome. I could talk for years about those stories, and how I've hurt myself, and then how I also learned some incredibly amazing things by doing that by accident. And but at the end of the day, years later, I've boiled it down to just a handful of some of the best pleiotropic supplements in the world that are the strongest immune supplements at the same time and can control infections and promote health. And some of them are stem cell releasers as well, which is what we're talking about here. And now that becomes a keeper in my program. Because at the end of the day, there's only 16 hours you're awake. You've got only so many supplements you can absorb and digest. If you try to push too many supplements into your body for too many years, you're going to get jaundice, which happened to me before back in the day, even 2010, into 2010, 2011. I was doing a lot of supplements and I didn't know about bad fillers and know about glyphosate on capsules. And I was getting jaundice at one point just from overdosing supplements. So yes, when you research all the causes of death for average people, you're going to see liver and kidney stuff come up. When you wear out the kidneys, people end up on dialysis, or they have to get a kidney transplant. When you get a kidney transplant, now you can't take double direction immune modulators because you can't do anything that'll boost your immune system too strong, as your body could reject that organ. That organ transplant can only last for 7 years. That's not really good if you're on a longevity program. They're making hospitals, they're saying, just to try to meet the future predicted need for liver transplants, the amount we're predicting in the future, how many people are going to need to live. Because the lifestyle right now is so toxic that people are so unhealthy that they're wearing out their filter organs faster. So many people that are going to be in positions where they're told by a doctor that they need a liver transplant, and they're pretty darn young, and all the rest of their organs are fine, super healthy. So that's not really smart. We need to learn how to be preemptive, and think beforehand. What build a program that's 100% liver and kidney friendly. If you put that into your program, you can find the products that will achieve the goals, the results you want, but are also going to be good for your liver and kidneys. Because if you're planning to live to 100 or beyond without an organ transplant, you got to know how to take care of your liver now, always, and avoid anything that's going to be hard on them. And this is where a high protein diet, which is why we're talking about Klamath bovine algae here and stem cells and Christian Drapeau, a high protein diet over a long period of time is going to contribute to wearing down the kidneys, especially with a low protein index food like meat, where only 30% of it is BPS, body protein synthesis. Meaning after 6 hours of hard work in your kidney and liver to break that protein down, you're going to get 30% of those amino acids that is going to go to your tissue. So only 30% of that grass-fed burger will become part of your muscles. That was permanent part of your tissue, your structure, your bones, your ligaments, cartilage. And that's important. We need to build a body to have structure. We have to have proteins. The body's a protein producing machine. And so this is why I like MAP amino acids, because it's got 100%, 99% BPS, body protein synthesis. So if you take 10 tablets of MAP, which is equivalent to 30 grams of protein, 99% of those 30 grams within 30 minutes, not 6 hours, within 30 minutes, it's body protein synthesis. It builds your tissue.
So I tried on your recommendation, and I felt that. I mean,
and zero stress to your kidneys.
Absolutely, you can feel how clean that is. It's just so simple and pure. Just goes straight in.
You could be on dialysis with bad kidneys, trying to figure out what to do. And you can't eat a grass-fed hamburger. You kill your kidneys if you're on dialysis. But you can take MAP. You can take 10 tablets twice a day and get all the protein to build your body up. So the next best thing to MAP is Klamath blue-green algae. It has a 70% net protein utilization index rate. Why? Because it's low molecular weight protein, short polypeptide chains. It's the greatest food. It's a single cell organism, part plant, animal, bacteria, and one cell. The surface area of the cell wall is so huge. If you flatten it all out, it's like the size of a swimming pool for one cell. It's crazy. It's so many folds. It has every nutrient known to man. It's the first food on the entire planet. All trees grew from blue-green algae. All animals, it's their first food. It goes back to the source of life. And Christian Drapeau is, the most important modern day plant stem cell releasing researcher we have in our modern times right now. So his research has really helped me with my stem cell program. It's in my master's program. The stem cell program is only 1 out of 7 levels in my program. The Jing is an important one, and redox is an important one, and cell membrane medicine is an important one, and geomorphism is an important one, and glycoscience, glyconutrition is an important one, and immunomodulatory therapy. These are like the 7 levels. I only use products in my program that are pleiotropic, that work on those 7 levels. If it doesn't nourish those 7 levels, then there's no room for it in my program. It's fluff. It's just, I don't use it. And so his work is pretty instrumental. And his work goes back to my background. I have fond memories of what I got to do with that tonic bar and what I learned in my roots, my early years. This is going back to 2005. And Christian Drapeau had for 10 years at this point been working with climate blue-green algae. And then when he isolated that, he basically started researching all of the anecdotal benefits that their customers, so this climate blue-green algae company that he was hired by, were getting. And there was like one woman, and if you've watched some of his podcasts, you might have heard this story, but there was one woman that she tripped with a kerosene lamp when she was 12 years old as a girl, and she had third-degree burns all over her skin from the oil, the kerosene flames, and she had scars for her life. They were permanent. And 50 years later, when she's 60 years old, she gets on this climate blue-green algae product. She's not taking the isolated product that he made later. She's just taking whole spectrum climate blue-green algae. She starts taking it, and she gets itchy sensations and inflammation in her scars. The scars have been silent for decades. They healed as best they could, and now it's scar tissue, and it stays there forever. But the scar is still alive. It's trying to heal. It just doesn't have enough stem cells. 60-year-old woman just takes climate blue-green algae, and she feels it. Now, the first time you would get a reaction like that, an itchiness in an area, you might think it's an allergy. You might think, this food is creating a weird side effect, like that might be good. But she was intuitive enough. She's like, you know what? It's a good itch. It feels like a scab when it's trying to heal, like a wound. And it's a nice itch. She's like, I think this is helping me. She says, I'm going to keep taking it. And not only did she keep taking it, she took high doses. And then she took pictures of her skin every week because she could feel it was changing. It was healing. She's had this for 50 years. Smart girl. She wanted to document this. And then she made a photo album because a year later, she had no scars. It was perfect skin. You can't see any scars. They're gone.
Wow.
So she took a picture. No, she just drank it internal. She took a picture every single week for 1 year to show the skin changing a little bit, getting better. And she could feel it working, itching, flaming every day. She's probably taking a heaping tablespoon like 3-4 times. I don't know what she was taking. I would love to ask, but she sent the photo album to Christian Drapeau, who was the researcher for this climate blue-green algae company back in the 90s. He was pretty blown away. He's like, as a scientist, I don't have proof here. I don't have labs. But I can't deny, pictures for a whole year and showing me this and this woman's story. And then when some other pretty amazing testimonials happened, and that led to more research. And then at that point in time, they believed that stem cells only became blood cells, and that's it. They can't migrate to your skin and heal your skin. That's in 2001, they didn't believe that. Or pre-2001. And what set it off for him is that he found some new research in the early 2000s that was showing, we were wrong. It looks like adult stem cells that come from the bone marrow that circulate in the blood. We can find them in the heart. We can find them in the brain. We can find them in the skin. They can become other stuff. And that's what led him to research climate blue-green algae. He says, if it's healing people like this woman, it must be affecting their stem cells. So he got a flow spectrometer, and they were able to test this stuff. And sure enough, he found like a 25% increase in 2 hours after taking climate blue-green algae of stem cells in your bloodstream circulating. So he was like, wow, we're on something. And then he found the pigment, the purple blue pigment that, and what, when you mix Klamath blue green algae in a glass of water and let it kind of sit, there's an iridescent rainbow fraction that starts to come out, different colors. It's quite otherworldly. There's no other food that does that. Spirulina does, it's a blue-green algae as well, so it has a little bit of this purple pigment, but it's not like Klamath. It doesn't fraction out like that rainbow and have those magical iridescent colors that are like multidimensional. It's like a crystal, like a fractal. It's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't get the spiritual high, that PEA, that consciousness from spirulina like you do with Plymouth blue green algae.
Yeah.
If you switch Plymouth blue green algae and gargle it multiple times, keep it under your tongue, whatever, so you can get it into the brain, you can feel the antidepressant effect, the mood effect, the consciousness increase. It lights up the brain. It turns you on. But I like the protein aspect too. As a nutritionist, it's 70% of the protein in Klamath blue green algae becomes your body protein synthesis, and it absorbs quickly, like MAP. It doesn't, and it's not hard on the kidneys and liver at all. It's good for those organs, and it boosts the immune system and increases natural killer cells, helps your body fight infections and viruses and even cancer. And it's got every nutrient, and it's high in chlorophyll. Beta carotene helps block solar radiation, builds your blood. So it's an important food. So when I opened the tonic bar, I quickly learned all these great things about Klamath blue green algae. And so we sold Klamath blue green algae. It's pretty expensive stuff for the big cans of the thing, especially the health food store with their markup retail. But I used it in green potions and green drinks. I used Klamath blue green algae in our best drinks because I didn't just have hot Chinese herbal elixirs at the tonic bar. I called it the superfood tonic bar. So we had warm Chinese herb drinks with the Taoist tonic herbs, and then we also used superfoods like Klamath blue green algae and other superfoods. And then David Wolf came along, Nature's First Law, first started selling from San Diego. There, all the raw cacao just came out, and his goji berries, and his maca, and his mesquite, and his tocotrienols. And I saw, and I learned about that from Erewhon because they were the best all raw health food store in the world at that time. So I started to learn about other superfoods, and I'm like, how can I incorporate these in drinks and make them taste good and offer nutrients to people and have a variety of different drinks so people can come all day long to the tonic bar and get different drinks, seaweed soups, green drinks, superfoods, ice creams made with maca and mesquite meal, and cacao nibs, and then Klamath blue green algae shots mixed with coconut water kefir aloe margaritas, and then Taoist elixirs, Jing cappuccino, Jing city, using deer antler, hushu, cordyceps, reishi, and gynostemma teas, and dress them up with a little raw chocolate and a little sweetener, and now I have like a Starbucks espresso, but no caffeine and all tonics, which I didn't realize how important that was at the time, but because caffeine parks in the adenosine receptor of the cell, and that will block cordyceps from working. The mechanism of action, how cordyceps is, if you look up cordyceps and all the benefits on the internet, it has a great track record. It's one of the greatest herbs in the world. It's pretty famous. But the mechanism of action, a good cordyceps extract will be high in adenosine. And if you're on caffeine and caffeine's parked in your adenosine receptor and you take cordyceps won't do anything. It's not going to give you ATP. It's not going to give you adenosine triphosphate. The only company in the world that tells consumers this is the best mushroom company in the world, in my opinion, Oriveda, out of the Netherlands, Oriveda, close to where you live here in England. They're on the continent, and they do the highest quality scientific extracted mushrooms. And when you order cordyceps from them, they have a page, like a little flyer, on some of the science, the research, the active constituents. They're also the only company that use Cordyceps militaris. Okay, the sexual apparatus, the tip that comes off the mushroom, with the caterpillar, the fruiting body, Cordyceps sinensis, the mycelium. And Taoism to build prenatal Jing, okay, the original primordial Jing. You have to take both Cordyceps militaris and sinensis together, both fruiting body and mycelium together. No other company does that. A few companies sell militaris, but it's by itself. Most Cordyceps companies sell sinensis. They sell the mycelium only. So, real wild Tibetan Cordyceps, if you can see this, looks like a caterpillar.
Yep.
So the fungus travels through the air and it lands on the head of a caterpillar at 18,000 feet in Bhutan in the forest. And the first thing the fungus does is it goes in and it starts to control the neurons of the brain. of the caterpillar. It controls its brain. It makes the caterpillar turn in the tundra so its head is pointing upright. And they're in the like that. And then the caterpillar, the fungus will start to engulf the entire caterpillar and turn it into a mushroom, mycelium, which is like the part of the mushroom that grows underground with the network in the rotten forest log. And then this is the cap, like this, for reishi mushroom. This is the cap. This is the fruiting body, the sexual apparatus that comes out of the ground, out of the rotten log, and then creates the spores, the seeds that go in the air to spread the mushroom. But the actual mushroom itself is not coming from this. It's coming from underground, from the mycelium. So cordyceps is a fungus that lasts through the air on the head of the caterpillar, controls its brain, controls the caterpillar to move the way it wants it to, and then it eats the whole caterpillar, turns the whole caterpillar's body into a mycelium. That's why it looks the shape of a caterpillar, but that's a mushroom now. There's no longer any insect left.
Yeah.
And then when it's done eating the whole caterpillar, then it grows its fruiting body up into the air outside the tundra so it can spread the spore.
Right.
And so the people in Bhutan are, they're paid, local poor people. They risk their lives. They can only do it when they're young. And they hike up the mountains from the lowlands up to high altitude in harsh weather. And you can see some videos on YouTube of these families that do this. They sit down and they just pick the cordyceps caterpillars out of the ground all day long, and they carry down as many as they can. And they have to sleep on the mountain. Some of them risk their lives. It's very harsh climate up there, and there can be avalanches or snowfall, the trails to get up and down. But it's the most prized herb in the world. It's worth over $1 million a ton, wild Tibetan cordyceps. And then they get as much cordyceps caterpillars as they can, and they sell them to other dealers who then sell them to someone else, and you end up in Chinatown in a big city like London or Los Angeles, and a tray of wild cordyceps caterpillars like $4,000 just for like a few days supply to make a tea, or a week maybe.
The cordyceps is a major stem cell releaser from what tonic herbal.
It's a prenatal gin herb if you take both together. And the reason I was talking about cordyceps is because I was talking about the tonic bar and all the recipes that we make, and I didn't use coffee. I didn't know. I just believed that it was a drug that in Taoism you're taught that stimulants leak jing. So that's going to weaken your stem cells, weaken your kidneys, weaken your bone marrow. So I don't want coffee. I don't want a fake drug stimulant, but I like the taste of coffee. And these herbs are kind of bitter coffee flavor, like reishi mushroom and hushu extracts. So I'm trying to make these drinks taste good for people at the bar. And I thought I need to make these things taste like Starbucks espressos. So I can put a little reishi and a little cordyceps extract and then I need to put some cacao powder and maybe some coffee extract flavoring that's caffeine free, and then a creamer and then a sweetener. And then I finally figured out how to make these herbs taste good. But I was against using coffee, and I didn't even know about adenosine back then. But thanks to Ori Vita's research, I learned about that maybe 3-4 years ago, that if you're on green tea, EGCG, even taking a green tea extract, maybe you got cancer, you're taking EGCG, but now you're not. Now you're going to negate the effect of the jing herbs, especially cordyceps. So if you're trying to utilize these herbs, you should know that and go off the coffee, because coffee's been kind of remarketed by many in the health industry in latter years as a health supplement. And I disagree. I don't think coffee is a health supplement. I think it dehydrates the body. I think it's hard on the gut, creates acid reflux, it burns the adrenals. And worst of all, it blocks one of the most important prenatal jing herbs in my program, which is cordyceps. It blocks its action. So Ori Vita includes in their literature, when you order cordyceps from Ori Vita, you'll get a piece of paper with all the science on the active constituents of their cordyceps product. And the reason I went off on a tangent on cordyceps is they're the only product that do militaris and senescence together in one extract. So they're being Taoist. They're making a product that can build prenatal jing. It's also the strongest cordyceps I've ever taken for the immune system. Tastes amazing if you open up their capsules on a spoon and eat it.
Absolutely. Do they do tincture as well?
No. But they provide in that piece of paper, when you order their cordyceps from them, information that tells you not to do coffee or any caffeine while you take this product. And here's why. It tells you how the adenosine parks in the receptor, it blocks cordyceps from adenosine getting in, and their cordyceps is one of the highest adenosine content tested. Adenosine helps make ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy molecule of life. Cordyceps is a chi tonic, it boosts energy, it boosts ATP, but not if you're on coffee. So yeah, when I got into Taoism, age 30, 2000, I started to learn Chinese tonic herbalism. I was learning the old, ancient form of original Taoist tonic herbalism from the Gate of Life school. Thanks to Ron Teagarden, he's the only Western person who was teaching this form of tonic herbalism. And he got sick when he was young, Michigan in med school in the 60s, and his roommate found Shu Wu Qi, a tonic with Hu Shu Wu and prepared Romania to build blood and kidney Jing. And he was chronic fatigued and weak in bed, and he started taking this stuff, and it brought his life back. And he ended up megadosing the stuff, changed his life. He quit med school, moved to California, opened the Taoist Healing Arts Center, and kept looking for more to learn about these tonic herbs. And then he met Sun Jun Park, a young Korean man who was born in a hermitage in a mountain in Korea. And he was sent to America when he hit manhood, his early 20 years old or something. It was part of his initiation from his master that he didn't want to go to America. He had to leave Korea, go to America, teach 10 people about Taoism, and then he'd be allowed to come back to Korea. And that would be his initiation as an adult, as a Taoist, part of their service that they did to the world. And he couldn't find 10 people, but he found Ron Teagarden. He placed an ad for a rare form of Qigong. And Ron found it in the newspaper in Santa Monica, California. And he showed up, and it was like the Karate Kid story. Sun Jun Park, this young Korean guy, just made Ron do his laundry, taught him Qigong, taught him macrobiotics, taught him one tonic herb at a time, taught him one treasure at a time, how to stop leaking Jing, and then how to build Yin and Yang Jing and regulate, and then how to lock it, protect it, and then how to nourish blood, and then how to build Qi, and then how to stabilize Shen, and then how to develop Shen, the 3 treasures in the Taoist system. And this is ancient. And this is another great thing I like about Christian Drapeau, is he's discovered some of this. He's a scientist. He's not a Taoist tonic herbalist, but he found he was hired to work with Climaclugrian algae back in the 90s. He found out that there's an ingredient in Climaclugrian algae that increases stem cells. Then he went on to make a product, a company, after that knowledge, called Stem Tech. The name of his company was Stem Tech in 2005. This is his first stem cell releaser product. Not a lot of people know this, but I was there and I took it because I was at Erewhon and at the time, and we were getting his Climaclugrian algae that he had researched and basically using his research to help promote this product to tell our customers what it can do. And I wouldn't have believed in Climaclugrian algae that it was that good or better than any other green superfood. Green superfoods were really trendy late 90s, early 2000s. There were all these green drinks coming out. Garden of Life had Perfect Food, and all these different companies were selling cans with chlorella, spirulina, barley grass, wheatgrass, cereal grass. They're throwing like 100 different ingredients in there. You don't know the quality of the source where they get from, but they all look good on the bottle. They sound good. I got suckered into the marketing for a lot of those green drinks, and I was trying to find the best one and take one regularly. And there's a very cool health food store in Los Angeles called the Inn of the Seventh Ray in Malibu. Okay, it's kind of up above the beach in nature. It's a very spiritual place. And the owner of that restaurant is a spiritual woman. And she has a spiritual bookstore right next to the restaurant called the Spiral Staircase. The Inn of the Seventh Ray, that's an inn, like you go to eat food and sleep, like you would in England. But the Inn of the Seventh Ray. The seventh ray is the last ray that Master Jesus is coming through, presiding over planet Earth, and they're raising consciousness. The master of the sixth ray was Saint Germain, according to the Ascended Master channel books, which I was finding some of this stuff on my spiritual side path, from between the Bodhi Tree in Los Angeles, one of the greatest health and spiritual bookstores the world's ever seen back in the day, and then between End of the Seventh Ray. At the end of the Seventh Ray, I found a green drink they sold there. I was like, this is a health restaurant and a spiritual bookstore, and they're selling one supplement only. and it was called Pure Synergy, made by a Taoist tonic Chinese herbalist, Mitchell May. And this herbalist had a car accident when he was young that was brutal, like broke every single bone in his body, couldn't walk, he was so bad. And part of his healing process is he designed a formula, a green drink, with the most nutritious superfoods that he knew of on the planet, all mixed together with the most rejuvenating Chinese tonic herbs that he would drink all day long. When he was in the hospital, he couldn't eat, drink, move. He had this formula made, and he consumed it around the clock. And it was instrumental in his healing and fully recovering. And then he made and commercially sold that product, but not in health food stores. Now, that company's called Pure Synergy. They are online now. You can buy Pure Synergy. It's like when clients email me and like, Truth, is what is it, Amazing Greens or AMG? Like, there's a greens supplement that's trendy right now that Huberman's promoting, and a lot of other big YouTubers. Amazing Greens 1, AM1 or something. I forget the name of it.
Athletic Greens.
Yeah, Athletic Greens. Okay. Yeah, I've had a few high-end clients literally pay me to research this product. Say, Truth, is this good? Is this really good like they say it is? Should I take it? And I researched it, and it's okay. It's got a lot of synthetic supplements. It's not that good. It's nowhere near in the stratosphere of Pure Synergy. If you want to pick a one green food superfood drink that has the best products in the world, that is the best. So I discovered Pure Synergy 2003. Yeah, before I was even working at Air One. And it was expensive, like $70 a bottle back in the day when I was in my healing path, 3 years living like a monk with no job at all and just doing my health program full time as part of my healing. But I bought it anyways, and I took a low dose to try to make it last. And I read every ingredient in that product, and I knew it was special, and I read all the literature. The first ingredient in Pure Synergy is Klamath blue-green algae. And then it goes into some seaweeds, and then it goes into all the top tonic herbs at a high dose. And it's a potent product. So if you're going to buy a multi-green drink, yeah, it's the best. But that's where I started to first learn about blue-green algae. And then at Air One, I got into the research, which was all of Christian Drapeau's research. And so we were using it. And then not long after I opened the Tonic Bar, 2005, our rep who came, that we bought our Klamath blue-green algae from, that we stocked on the shelves at Air One at the Tonic Bar, our rep brought in these bottles. They were like green plastic bottles, white labels, said Stem Tech on there. The product was called Stem Enhance. And this is Christian Drapeau's first stem cell releaser in 2005. He never talks about the name of this company, this product, because he has a different company now. He doesn't want to confuse people, I guess. But so it was pretty expensive. It was a lot more expensive than just buying Klamath blue-green algae by itself. And Klamath blue-green algae is already pretty expensive compared to any other green superfood. So I didn't take it that long or that often on my Air One salary at the time, $15 an hour at Air One. And these bottles were like, I don't know, $100 a bottle or something. And but the rep was really excited about it. And he said, I'm taking it. It's kind of pricey. I know I'm taking a low dose, but I'm super excited. He was an older guy. He was close to 60, but he had been taking Klamath for a long time. And he was tapped into quite a lot of knowledgeable stuff. He was a good guy. So he really turned me on to Christian Drapeau's first product. And I took it on and off. I couldn't afford to stay on the high dose. I couldn't even afford to take the higher dose like I do now with Klamath blue-green algae that I wanted to. So I would get free samples from the rep of the Klamath blue-green algae and take that most of the time. And I didn't take the Stem Tech very long, but I heard some of the testimonials of people taking it. So Christian had that company going for a while, and then he had some more. Some people experimented with, when he had that product going, with some high doses. So if you listen to a lot of his podcasts, you might come across a story of a woman with a spinal cord injury. And this was at a spinal cord institute in Hawaii. If I just retell Christian's story quickly, she had been paralyzed, quadriplegic, like arms and legs, pretty much fully, for like 15, 16 years. And there were a few people that wanted to try a study where they would take Christian Drapeau's stem cell releasing product from Klamath blue-green algae at the time, that was the Stem Enhance, that they would take that product at a pretty high dose for 8 months and see if there was any improvement. And I think like 8 people want to do this study. I think 4 of them, because they had to keep going to the hospital when they have relapses or get a bed sore or something, that the hospital would say, no, don't take that, and they take it away. So 4 of them quickly didn't continue the study. The other 2 didn't comply with it. There were only 2 that ended up staying on the product for the full 8 months. And one of them was this woman, and she could lift one leg like a few inches up in the air, and she's lying down flat. She could lift one leg, but she couldn't bend the knee or anything. She could just lift the leg a little bit and then lift it down. That's it. And she could have partial use of one of her other arms, and that was it. Otherwise, she couldn't change herself. She couldn't eat herself. She couldn't go to the bathroom. She would have full-time care in a bed for 15 years. And she starts taking the Stem Enhance, the climate blue green algae product. I believe at the time she was taking from Christian Drapeau. And I don't know what the dose she was taking. I'd love to know. I'm sure Christian knows. If she was taking 2 capsules like 8 times a day, like going through a half a bottle a day, or $50 a day. I don't know what she was spending on that product, or if she got it for free, how much she was taking. But at the end of the 8 months, she could lift up her leg, bend the knee, move both legs around, had more use to both arms, and she could basically lift up her leg and use it as a weight to swing herself around, and then she could sit upright and she could feed herself and she could dress herself. She didn't end up walking, but she became independently able to care for herself like someone who's only partially paralyzed in just 8 months with just his first product that was only using climate blue green algae. His latest product, StemRegen, it's got 5 top stem cell releases. I want to talk about those. Would I'm sure do even more results. And what I'm doing in my stem cell program, I think would go even further. So it is really exciting. And I think this is the way to work with. I know for me how long I want to live, and I don't want to get on an airplane, and I don't want to inject cells. I want to maximize what my body makes, my own stem cells from inside. I want to slow down aging in the first place so I can keep my bone marrow as young as possible. If I can reverse some of the aging in my bone marrow, I want to do that. And then I want to maximize how many stem cells every day I can release from my bone marrow. And then I want to maximize how those stem cells can circulate through my body and actually get to the areas I want them to get to. So I want to talk about that. But so pretty amazing testimonials just with climate blue green algae. And in the last year or so, there's quite a lot of new great podcasts that different people have done with Christian, and I've watched them all on YouTube because he says something different in each one. I learn bits, and it's made me go back and increase my climate blue green algae. So I'm doing a tablespoon twice a day now. And there's a client that turned me on to a guy in 2015. I think he had a program or a diet called the Superman diet. And I never actually researched the diet, but my client was telling me, he's like, Truth, what do you think about this? This guy, he's really out there. He's kind of like you. He's into some great stuff. He's taking most of his supplements and he's doing them as a suppository. He's doing them as rectal retention implants. And I learned in 2013 when I went deep into systemic enzyme therapy, trying to find ways to get higher doses. I learned how to open up enzymes or mix enzyme powders, serrapeptase, nattokinase, lumbrokinase, proteases, how to mix them into water, into fleet enemas. After a little enema or after a colonic, when your lower bowel is really clean, insert the enzymes and then lay down. And then open up another batch and drink some of them this way. And then rinse your mouth out quickly so they don't attack your teeth. So I could get enzymes through faster into the body at higher doses. And I've had amazing results with my rectal retention enzyme protocol for boosting the immune system fast, powerfully, reducing inflammation, stopping pain, knocking out viruses quickly, speeding healing, eating up scar tissue, shrinking large fibroids. When you have a lot of scar tissue in the body and you want to shrink a lot of it in a reasonable period of time, like in just a few months, you can't just swallow a few capsules of enzymes. You need to know how to do higher doses. Okay, so to pick up on what I was talking about with the enzymes, my experience with the efficacy of doing enzymes in a rectal retention enzyme implant, I learned that, by the way, from German paramedics, because I was having good experiences with a very powerful oral enzyme product when I worked up to higher doses. But the way this product was powerful is it had a very strong polymer coating. and that would get past the hydrochloric acid in the stomach so that you could deliver the enzymes into the bloodstream. So, but when I worked up to high doses, started doing 24 capsules at a time after a few months, I actually created an ulcer because the polymers are so strong, it burned a hole in my stomach. So I had to stop that product and then heal my stomach, which healed pretty quick. And then I'm like, okay, darn it, I can't do these enzymes oral anymore. So I did more research and I found out that the German paramedics, when they pick up an accident victim on the motorway, the first thing they do is pull down their pants and stick an enzyme retention implant of systemic enzymes up their butt. Because the enzymes will go into the bloodstream and reduce inflammation right away, reduce pain. It'll break up blood clots to prevent like a stroke from happening from an accident victim. But at the same time, it'll increase platelets to make someone who's got rapid bleeding, make them clot faster and stop bleeding. And it boosts the immune system and it takes down pain. So enzymes are amazing. I mean, they're a big part of my program all the time. And Christian Drapeau talks about how enzymes can be used to help the blood flow, the circulation, the capillary system so that the stem cells can mobilize actually to the site where we need them. And that's there. I think he's using some enzymes in one of his other products now to help with that. But I learned the power of rectal delivery of supplements through enzyme therapy from the Germans. And that led me on a path since 2013 to learning how to make high dose enzymes rectally. And then in 2015, I heard from a client, there was a guy doing a Superman diet program. All his supplements were rectal. Well, I've done something similar. I found the rectal thing, doing it regularly all the time. It's disruptive in my daily flow. It takes too much time. And sometimes you have to go back and have a few more poops and release some waste. So that kind of gets messy and time consuming. And if you spill the enzymes on the anus, it can sting a little bit, that delicate tissue down there, and you got to wait for that to heal. It can hurt. You got to be careful. It's not practical in daily flow for a daily routine every single day. But the mouth is. Okay, so I don't do IVs, I don't do blood tests, I don't like needles in my arm anymore. There's heavy metals that are coated on the needles that can get into your system. You're putting scar tissue every time you put it. I've seen the track marks on my I had a client that I helped live longer who was on dialysis when I first worked with her. And she was an amazing woman. But after, gosh, like 10 years of dialysis, I saw her arm and how the that I got a pretty good vein right there. You can see, I saw how that vein was hanging out with the skin, looked like elephantitis of the arm. I mean, it was the most disfigured elbow I've ever seen on a human being, with the skin coming down and hanging with these massive bubble for several inches in this disshapen nerve. And I guess that's what happens to like a drug addict or someone who has to get a needle stuck in the same part of the body over and over and over again. It's not healthy. If you're planning on great longevity, I would like to circumvent the need for needles being put into my body. And for blood tests, I test organs through urine tests. I use as many tests as I can for biomarkers without having to do needles in the arm. And I'm looking forward to the genetic tests and getting to the point when people in home do kits, because that's another reason why I haven't done any genetic age testing. But I was curious to do it because one of the second generation tests that are more accurate, because I believe the anti-aging longevity program that I'm doing right now, I think is approaching or is the greatest that you could possibly create with natural health and nutraceuticals and herbs and supplements and health technologies and diet and water and these types of interventions. It's all going to be in my book when we unlay this program. But so I switched many top products in my program are all mouth shot techniques. I have 3 or 4 different mouth shot techniques: the upper lip flush pump, the side to side swoosh, the multiple gargle, the undertongue long holds, and the pursed lip side to side tongue push, which is the fastest. It takes the shortest amount of time and gets the deepest drive. So all the top products I'm doing that way. I started learning about the bone marrow, its connection to primordial Jing, original Qi or original Jing in Taoism. I started learning about that in my early 30s from working with other Taoist tonic herbalists when I started working in dragon herbs, and reading the books and understanding the value of saving my Jing. It's connected to my reproductive faculties. So not masturbating, reducing semen loss, whether you practice semen retention or celibacy, and then build Jing by consuming these tonic herbs, these supplements. Other leaks of Jing are poor sleep, chronic stress. These are all things that are bad for stem cells as well. They're very linked, stem cells and Jing. So I improved my program routine with my sleep cycle, and trying to keep a mental habit of many seconds of the day trying to stay in a state of centeredness. Am I calm? Am I present? Am I in the moment? In the Tao Te Ching, it says, stop thought and you cure all disease. It's like overthinking is an addiction. It's a disease. They want you to be in the now. And the sage is not attached to anything. Therefore, he does what is right without speaking, simply by being in the Tao. So when I lived alone for 3 years on my program, I spent a lot of time in nature, taking my tonic herbs, doing my body ecology ketogenic diet, doing my Qigong exercises, and then the 5 rites I learned, and learning about the 3 treasures, Jing, Qi, and Shen, according to Taoism. And Jing, the first treasure, is very much correlated to the endocrine system, your hormones, your bone marrow, your stem cell production. And ironically, all of the Jing herbs, all the ones so far that Christian Drapeau has tested, all increase stem cells. And when Christian's book came out, Cracking the Stem Cell Code in 2010, a Harvard professor who is an expert in Chinese medicine from Harvard, who learned Old Chinese so she could read and study and research the oldest Chinese herbal systems before modern traditional Chinese medicine was created. She found out about the Taoist prenatal school and prenatal Jing, postnatal Jing. It's also called primordial Jing. And she contacted Christian Drapeau and she said, you know, what you're talking about, the difference between adult stem cells and embryonic stem cells, she said, everything you're describing about them, they coincide, they link with everything I've researched from the ancient form of Taoist tonic herbalism, the Gate of Life School, of prenatal Jing and postnatal Jing. So the prenatal Jing tonics like Hu Shu Wu. And so she shared this information, and it inspired Christian Drapeau to actually test Hu Shu Wu and goji berry, 2 herbs that she mentioned. She said Hu Shu Wu is a prenatal Jing herb, so and goji berry is a postnatal Jing herb. And Christian Drapeau tested them, and sure enough, the Hu Shu Wu increased stem cell release from the bone marrow, and the goji berry increased stem cell migration into the injury site once it's in the bloodstream. So the 2 together are a powerful way to enhance our body's own rejuvenation healing process. And I also know from other customers who did expensive telomere testing, who got on the Jing herbs that I put them on programs, that their telomeres got longer after months of taking these tonic herbs every single day. So I think all of the Jing herbs, because everything inside the nucleus, according to Taoism, controls your Jing. That's where the reproduction of the cell is. So if you take Jing herbs regularly, you're feeding nuclear material. You should be extending telomeres, preventing, and you're rejuvenating these cells, making them stronger. So when your cells hit the end of the Hayflick limit after 50 divisions, they have to make a new cell. If you've been on Jing herbs all that time, that new cell is going to be younger and stronger, not necessarily older. So it's pretty deep. And the Taoists taught that before you lose the Jing in the bones, the bone marrow, when the marrow is still moist and pink and red and juicy and producing more red blood cells, which is part of your qi, is building high level of erythrocytes, red blood cells. If you're anemic, you have low blood count, you're going to be weak, you're going to be tired. And we do things, we take iron, a vitamin B12, green drinks, and things that help boost our blood volume so that we have energy. In Chinese medicine, they say men are ruled by qi, women are ruled by blood. So men, they prefer more qi tonics that strengthen their muscles, like white atracolotes, like ginseng, astragalus, can make them strong. But women who are still reproductive, that still menstruate, because they menstruate, they run borderline anemic, and they can have a low blood count. And if their blood count's low, they're going to be tired. Their qi is poor. So they need to build their blood. So they take blood tonics to build them up. And deer antler builds yin and yang Jing And really good fresh live deer antler tip can build prenatal gene. And deer antler builds blood from the bone marrow. And deer antler tonifies the bone marrow. And so the Taoists would teach their young people, while the marrow is still red and pink in your 20s, you start taking even just a quarter of a dropper full of a live deer antler tip extract, just a little bit of deer antler every single day. And you will keep the marrow red and pink longer. That's what they taught in Taoism. Christian Capose never heard that, but I bet you he'd be kind of curious if he heard that. But you'd have to do a long-term study on that. I mean, you'd have to do a 10-year study with people to see. But I think really good deer antlers, like I make liposomal deer antlers, and I use Dragon Herbs deer antler drops because that's fit fingerprint identification transfer. That's a raw deer antler tip from Sika deer. It's high quality stuff. And I mix it with Sir Thrival's elk velvet antler, which they're gold, not the platinum, because I don't want the tribulus, just the gold. And now I get the growth factors from the blood, the living tip extract. They're two different types of deer antler modern extracts that are both valuable and potent. I mix them together in a pharmaceutical grade phospholipid drink. So I have liposomal absorption and drink it straight down. Don't hold it under the tongue. That way the alcohol is dispersed to the mucous membranes of the esophagus and cleared before it even hits the liver. If you hold these alcohol, because these deer antler tips are 50% alcohol, and you know they're expensive. People want to get as much deer antler as they can when they buy these products, so they tend to hold it under the tongue. But that's bad with any alcohol product because you're delivering alcohol straight into the brain cells. And once alcohol hits the brain cell dies. And you feed infections that might be in the mouth because alcohol is a very strong form of sugar. So if you have a dental cavities, you have sinus infections, we're trying to keep those infections down. We don't want to do that. So all my alcohol tinctures, my ginseng, my deer antler, my elk velvet goes into a phospholipid drink that I do in the empty part of the day during my intermittent fasting that I can drink, and it absorbs quickly. And you feel the phospholipids, pharmaceutical grade phospholipids, because I'm doing cell membrane medicine as well. So this is one of the drinks, the PC deer drink, I call it. And but that drink, I'll never miss it because I'm going to be 55 soon. But you know, I practice celibacy, do the 5 Tibetan rites. These are the most powerful exercises that I believe build prenatal gene and keep the marrow young and moist. Okay, and take those deer antlers every day. Sleep on a unipolar magnet bed that boosts bone growth.
Yeah.
I use a whole body vibration plate, low intensity LIV, low intensity vibration, not these 10 to 20 G forces like a power plate that can create TBIs and actually damage the nervous system. The strong ones are good for the bones, they're good for the brain. I mean, good for the muscles, good for lymph, good for working out. But the problem is they shake the brain so hard and the brain is so delicate that you create many TBIs, right? Traumatic brain injury, you can damage your nervous system. So I use like a 1.5 G from Becky Chambers on the low setting. It stills, but all the research shows that 20 cycles, just 10 minutes a day, you increase bone density, increase stem cells from the bone marrow with whole body vibration therapy. So the Juvent, and there's another one, forget the name of it. These are like $5,000 whole body vibration plates by prescription only from a doctor for a woman with osteoporosis, for an older woman, that are sold in America. And they have the science, the research, and these vibrate under, like they're half a G. It's such a subtle vibration, you can't even feel anything in your head at all. It's just, but it does, that's all it takes. 10 minutes once a day. That vibration, 20 cycles per second, stimulates the bone to grow. All the weight-bearing bones. So your long bones, in your hips, and then your spinal stuff are going to increase bone density. Now, if you get down in a push-up stance and you can work on other bones too. But the research is pretty strong on increasing bone density, and then some stem cells from the bone too. So I do 10 minutes once in the morning, and then 10 minutes once at night. If you do it multiple times a day, increase the frequency. You have to do it every day over long term. You can increase more, and then you don't hurt the brain. The brain's very delicate. Roller coaster rides, headbutting soccer balls, cell phones to your head, going out in the sunlight in a strong sunny day with no protection, you can start to burn the lesion in an MS patient in 5 minutes. Solar radiation's gone up. Up 20, according to NASA, the solar radiation in just the last 5 years has gone up 20%.
Yes.
Okay, because the magnetic field is weakening of the earth. So I stay out of direct sunlight, and supplement with vitamin D, and supplement with bioptron full spectrum lights. So when I have it rigged up in the exercise room. It's behind my table. Full body vibration plate, ultraviolet from BeckyChambers.com on the floor there. And that bioptron light is on the floor. So while I'm vibrating for 10 minutes, I can hold the bioptron light over my face for 5, and then over my abdomen for 5. And that has a C60 fullerene lens on that light. So it makes structured light. In 10 minutes, it increases the vitality in your organs. But this is polychromatic, non-polarized, full spectrum light. This is sunlight without radiation, all the healing power of the sun. So it has 400 nanometer all the way up to 3,400. Every single color and wavelength in between. It's not just 660 red light. It's not just 850 near infrared light. It's not just 470 blue light. It's not just 520 green light, which each one has a different benefit. And people are really into LED, red light therapy and stuff. But the full spectrum light, the calmness, when you sunbathe, I remember sunbathing as a kid and, out in nature, relaxing in the yard, there is some healing properties from the sun, no doubt. The calmness, the relaxation, the less stress, the infrared, there's a lot of benefits from all those other wavelengths you get from full spectrum light. All the lamps here, like those lights right there, that light over there, okay? Those are all Chromolux, full spectrum light bulbs that come from Finland, where they have no sun for half the year and people get seasonal disorders. And I've had sensitive people that can feel stuff, that can feel energy. Like, Truth, what is that? Like, that's not a regular light bulb. It's giving off healing energy. So I can take off my clothes and I can get under one of these Medusa lamps and point a few of those bulbs at me, and I'm maybe 5 feet away, and it feels exactly like when I used to sunbathe in my teens, in the 80s when I was a kid. And I'd lay out because I was white skinned, once after puberty, you want to look good and handsome because you're interested in girls and you're going to high school, and all members of opposite sex are checking each other out because the hormones are reproductive. And I learned about how to suntan myself from my mom because she used to sunbathe and get a nice tan. And she tanned very well, very easily. And I tanned very well and easily as well. And when I started to get concerned about, and I thought I wanted, I was fair skinned, Northern European, I'm half British and half Dutch by blood, genetically. I wanted to look more handsome or more attractive or healthier. I would sunbathe enough to create a tan, burn myself, create some melanin. That's very harmful. I didn't know at the time, but I was only 15 years old. So, you have so many stem cells that age, not going to age you. But after 25, like, you don't want to do that. You don't have the RNA from the DNA to replenish those cells. You're going to permanently add to aging. When I was 39 in 2009, thanks to some different information I got, I stopped exposing bare skin to the sun. I did a 2-year experiment where I stayed out of the sun completely. I put copper over the places. So you see that skylight there. There's no light coming through that skylight. Or that one over there. There's no light coming through that skylight on the roof. Because I put solid copper taffeta fabric. Because in the summer, there's a little too much indirect light that I know has aging effect. So since age 39, I've stopped going in direct sunlight. And I've done some things to try to increase dietarily my copper and zinc in my body to make more superoxide dismutase. And now with my redox program, I boost through NRF2 my body's production of superoxide dismutase quite significantly. And with hydrogen therapy, with a SIA redox, it's a very good product to boost NRF2 and increase your estrogen production. And I make the best hydrogen water in the world. And I can do it in molecular hydrogen gas. And I do high doses, 3 liters of structured 1.6 ppm molecular H2 hydrogen gas water. I drink in 15 minutes flat once a day. Most people throw up the first time they do that. You have to start with 1.5 liters, and then after a while work up to 2 liters, and then 2.5. And then when you get clean enough, it's one of the greatest things I've ever learned is that much water compressed in a short amount of time, hydrates every part of the body, every injury site. It knocks out viruses, it boosts the immune system, it raises consciousness. What it does to the brain makes you so smart, so happy, makes you feel so good. But it's a lot of hydrogen to get into one time too, which through NRF2 boosts superoxide dismutase. So but I didn't know that back in 2009. In 2009, I was just, I was doing as liposomal SOD supplement, which I still have. You can do under the tongue, and phosphatidylcholine, superoxide dismutase, glutathione catalase. It boosts those antioxidants. And I was increasing copper and zinc, and I was donating blood or getting a phlebotomy once in a while to lower iron. If you lower iron, increase copper, zinc, make more SOD, you attract less radiation, stimulate the body to more protein synthesis, make better collagen. Solar radiation from the sun breaks down collagen faster than anything. So I started staying out of the sun. And I didn't know if I believed it when I learned this information, because I was big into the influence of a lot of my naturopathic roots of the sun is really good for you. So I used to, back in the old days when there were some videos still on YouTube and my hair was long, and I used to hike in the sun, 2004, 2005, 6, hike in the sun, my 2 days a week off from heroin, all day long in the mountains, high altitude, just in shorts. I put jojoba shea butter on my skin every like 40 minutes to help prevent a sunburn. And on those days, I'd break ketosis. I would just eat a large amount of goji berries while hiking, because when you get a lot of beta carotene in your body, it's harder to get a sunburn, helps block some of that sun. And I would otherwise expose my skin to the sun all day long. And I did pretty good as far as preventing the aging effects of the sun because of the jojoba shea butter and the goji berries. But when I got this information, I decided to try it. At least 3 months, maybe a year. I thought, I won't go in the sun at all. I'll put copper on my roof and ceiling. I'll start to lower my iron in my body so I attract less radiation, get my ferritin down to under 70, okay, with my blood tests, and I will increase my copper, zinc, and SOD production, and beta carotene and chlorophyll. These are two other antioxidants that help protect you from the sun. And, I was telling my customers at the tonic bar who I see regularly what I'm doing. And I go, interesting, Truth. And sure enough, in 3 months, like I have a customer that hasn't come into the bar for a few months, and they see like, wow, Truth, your skin looks younger. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I think it's working. And by the end of 2009, after 1 year on this experiment, I was pretty convinced. I was convinced. So I've kept it up ever since, and I'm planning to keep it up. But when I go for like a few years with no sun, there's something weird in my body. Like I feel like I'm missing something. And this is when I got into the bioptron light. When I hold or these lamps here with the Chromolux bulbs, if I take off my clothes and I lay and sunbathe in front of the Chromolux bulb, it's like a sun tanning, like I did when I was 15 years old to get a suntan when I was a teenager. You get so calm, you go half asleep, you feel all happy and relaxed. There's even a smell, a very faint odor of cooked flesh that I remember when I did sun tanning beds a few times in 1990 when I was 20 years old. Again, for vanity reasons, trying to get a tan before I would start dating, because I thought it'd make me look handsome. And I didn't know how aging that was. Stupid. But there's a smell when you come out of the tanning bed of cooked flesh. And when I would do and I remember that from my teens in the early 80s, mid 80s, when I would sunbathe on a strong hot day for a pretty long session to really cook myself enough to get a strong tan to show up in the next day or two. At the end of the sunbathing session, I'm very calm from the infrared. I like the feeling of the sun, but I can smell that odor of slightly cooked flesh. And anybody who's listening to this, who's done a lot of sunbathing in the past, I think they know what I'm talking about. That same odor, slight smell, it's not just cooked flesh. There must be some other beneficial effect, because I get it a little bit when I use the Chromolux bulbs, but I don't get it from the bioptron light. But the bioptron light, that something in me that feels like I'm missing the sun, missing something from the sun. I don't know what it is. When I use the bioptron light on my face, on my abdomen, anywhere in the body, when you hold it for several minutes, it's like, parasympathetic, calm. You go into a deep breath, and you feel this, you're drinking in the sun. You feel this nourishing effect, just like you do when you're out in the sun. But you don't get any solar radiation. You don't break down your collagen. You don't age. It's not just the UVB that hits your skin that breaks down collagen on the surface. Your skin will block the UVA, UVB from harming internal organs. But the gamma ray, Can't see the damage from the gamma ray. That goes right through the skin, right through your organs, right out the other side of your body. And the sun kills stem cells. It breaks down collagen. It's not, radiation does. Okay. This is why we know the astronauts who go into space, they destroy their stem cells. They work in these space stations. They're doing longer and longer missions. They come down with 80-year-old bones, a 30-year-old man. That's the fastest way to lose your stem cells. You need to block radiation. You need to stay out of the sun. You need to avoid X-rays. You need to not fly on an airplane unless you have the right clothing to block the radiation. You take the right supplements to block the radiation, which I help clients do. But every time you fly on an airplane, it's like getting an X-ray. And if you're planning on longevity, you have to understand that radiation is cumulative. Every day you've had in the sun is accumulating into your DNA with the damage it makes. Okay. And other forms of radiation. Okay. We don't have any RF radiation here. I turn on the acoustometer. See, we're in the green. So there's no Wi-Fi, because that Wi-Fi, otherwise that voltage, that man-made radiation from Wi-Fi, here's the cell membrane. Okay, this is the outer biolipid layer, this is the inner biolipid layer. That Wi-Fi hits this membrane, it shoots along and it hits one of these VGCCs, voltage gated calcium channel. The voltage sensor opens up the channel and it dumps a whole bunch of extracellular calcium inside the cell. You're supposed to have 10,000 times the amount of calcium outside your cells to the amount inside. When you dump a whole large amount of calcium, originally the researchers, the scientists thought the energy is too low on cell phones and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Can't cause any harm because we can't heat, we can't create a thermal effect. So we thought it's safe. And then in 2013, Dr. Martin Powell discovered the VGCCs and how there is radiation that hits the cell membrane. It opens up the VGCC channel. It dumps calcium inside the cell. When that calcium goes inside the cell, it boosts nitric oxide and superoxides, and it makes peroxynitrates, the no cycle. And that peroxynitrate is the mechanism for all of the aging effects that happen from being exposed to this RF radiation. When you turn on a meter like this and you're in the red 24 hours a day, okay, it's double and single strand DNA breaks within 20 minutes. Okay, then the science is there. It's the birth defects and the nervous system damage, attacking the blood-brain barrier, inhibiting melatonin, elevating glucose like you're diabetic, increasing free radical species. So we want to take care of this beautiful body and preserve stem cells and boost stem cells. Can't be flying every day to Panama for injections. You work with what the creator gods gave you, your own bone marrow, your own gene. And we have so many things that can do it. And Christian is the pioneer, Christian Drapeau, with showing the world that even your stem cells at age 70, you've never gotten into health and you're 70 years old and you want to heal something and get younger. You're still making stem cells in your bone marrow and they can do the job. But there are ways to enhance them. But if you're younger than 70, there's ways to preserve the loss of the marrow. There's ways to rejuvenate it. There's ways to build your gene and make more stem cells, release more, and then get them where we want them to go. Okay. But all forms of radiation are cumulative. If you're going to live a long life, that means the sun exposure of daily living, the Wi-Fi exposure of daily living, the amount of flights you do, all of that, and the amount of X-rays you do, it's all going to add up. Okay. And start to age your body. Now, you can protect yourself from NASA uses hydrogen because it boosts redox. Through NRF2, you increase more glutathione, SOD catalase. Your body makes it endogenously. Instead of taking external glutathione outside your body is not smart. Because if you have cancer cells, the cancer cells will use the glutathione to become stronger. It's harder to get, your immune system has a harder time to get rid of the cancer cells. We grow cancer cells all the time, but our immune system takes care of them. So you don't give glutathione to cancer cells. So when you use glutathione outside your body, it's kind of not smart, it's dumb. But when you use redox inside the body, like hydrogen, like ASEA, there are some other things that improve redox. You regulate your production. You don't give glutathione to cancer cells, you give glutathione to healthy cells only because it's intelligent. So NASA uses hydrogen to protect their astronauts from some of the damage of radiation. So we want to do things to block radiation our whole lives and minimize our exposure, and do things to rejuvenate the deepest fundamental parts of the body that are associated with youth: bone marrow, sperm, nuclear material inside the DNA, endocrine glands, hormones, growth factors, BDNF. Okay, this is the juice of youth. Okay, we want to feed it, and that's what I'm doing in my program. Last year, when I started watching a lot of researching more Christian Drapeau, I knew his background from 2005 because I took STEM tech. I took STEM Enhance. I knew about how good climate moving algae was, but I didn't know some of his testimonial miracle stories from climate moving algae until I listened to all of his podcasts. And then I was like, wow, I got to take my climate more seriously. So I've been interested in stem cells before that because stem cells have been popular going back in the day. I did a pretty good podcast for Longevity Warehouse that's still, I think you can search and find it on the internet somewhere, that I did back in 2010 on stem cells. And I know that there are certain, independent of Christians' work, I've heard over the years being in the health industry, there are certain superfoods and tonic herbs, things that can enhance stem cells. And but Christians got me really more excited about making this a very fundamental, important part of my longevity master's program. That's why it has its own section in the 7-level system. It's in my book, is stem cells. Everything we can do to boost what we make every single day, all day long, and every night. And with things that are practical, affordable, liver and kidney friendly, that we can do every single day. So last year, after looking at his latest product, he's got 5 plants that he studied and researched. Klamath was the first one he found, obviously. Then he concluded with logic that there can't be just one food on earth that can increase stem cells from the bone marrow in humans. There must be others. And then sure enough, over time, he found them. And there's lots of things that will affect the stem cells in a positive way. But how many things can we take? I mean, we want to find the things that are going to be the most lucrative to give the best results. And so the 5 ingredients in his product in Stem Regen is the sea buckthorn berry, and that's a food. Also, it's not in Dow's tonic herbal system, but it's something I learned from the nutritionist again at Air One. Back in the day, New Chapter sold an omega-7 product that was a supercritical extract. That's 150 to 250 pounds of raw herb to 1 pound of extract, and it was in soft gels. And we bite pop these, so you get the concentrated extract of sea buckthorn right in the body. And I just knew that omega-7 was good for the skin. It had some other health benefits, but I didn't know that it's really one of the greatest herbs in the world. Like Christian Drapeau said, some of the smartest people he knows that know biochemistry, they know about all the best plants in the world, and they know about health. And he would ask them, if you had to live on a desert island the rest of your life, and you can only have one superfood for the rest of your life, what would it be? He said many of them said sea buckthorn. And so it's the research. There's a good little short YouTube video on from one of the scientific researchers that worked with Christian that just lays out all the biochemistry on how much sea buckthorn affects stem cells in humans, our own stem cells. But sea buckthorn also has so many other benefits. So he uses sea buckthorn, and he uses ginseng, and he uses aloe vera, aloe plata from Madagascar, a special type of aloe vera that's used in a folk remedy product that has a lot of health benefits. He tested it and found it's one of the highest in stem cell releasers. So he's got the aloe, he's got the ginseng, he's got the sea buckthorn, he's got the Klamath blue-green algae, and he's got fucoidan. And I've known about fucoidan, I would say 6 or 7 years, because I got into Modophyllon, biophyllum seaweed extracts for the purpose of people doing high doses of these raw intervein fucoidan seaweed kelp extracts, because it's very good at pulling out toxins, sucking out heavy metals, radioactive isotopes, radiation, poisons, heavy metals. Some people with autoimmune diseases, they get on like 12, 18 capsules a day for maybe a year or two, and they recover. A lot of them get better because when you pull out enough heavy metals, it's one of the best chelators are these supplements. And then I learned some of the research going back since 2013, actually. I've started hearing about fucoidan and using seaweed extracts and learning about how they help with cancer and how they help with stem cells. They help the immune system, and they help pull out radiation, heavy metals. They have a lot of trace minerals. They help with skin and hair. Pregnant women taking fucoidan seaweed extracts, at a good decent dose all through pregnancy, have a like 15-point increase IQ in their children. Why? Because the seaweed alginate extracts, they pull out heavy metals, and they have organic iodine, best food source of iodine. And so iodine deficiency in the mother during pregnancy is the leading cause of underdeveloped brains in children. So correcting the iodine deficiency naturally without taking a synthetic iodine supplement, a kelp seaweed extract like a fucoidan product is the best way to go. But the really high quality, expensive fucoidan extracts are what are used to help because they program apoptosis. They have a digestive enzyme that they produce on the cell wall membrane that programs apoptosis in 72 hours. So the good products. So I've been taking UFEN, fucoidan, and these are like $90 a bottle at retail. But if you order a case of 12 at a time, you get it for like $40 a bottle, like $700 for a year supply. And the research on fucoidans is good. So he's got those products. Last year, after listening to his products, I wanted to try his Stemergen because I hadn't taken one of his products since 2005, since the StemTech. Back in the day, just the Climate Green algae product. Those were all algae. They were green capsules. You'd open up. So because I'm so good with the mouth delivery technique, and for my highest quality supplements, I do them this way. And it's giving me, it's really been the difference between success and failure for my Max program and for me coaching some clients who've been struggling with a real serious challenge of some type of infectious condition or some type of infectious disease. Because some of these supplements, if you don't deliver them into the bloodstream, into the cell, into the infected area enough, they're not going to work. If you just swallow the pills when your stomach's not fully empty, they're not going to do that much. If you're fasting and you swallow the pills of some of the best products I use, they're going to do more. If I open up the capsules and mix them into a drink of water, structured water, and then I have the person drink them while they're totally empty, intermittent fasting, now they're going to be even more beneficial. And we can start getting some therapeutic results. But if I show people how to get the powdered version without any fillers of these supplements and how to do various mouth delivery techniques, we don't have to do the rectal thing. We don't have to drink our pee. Just got to know how to get these products without an IV, without the trauma of a needle in your arm, how to get these products into the cell, into the bloodstream, and boom, the effect is good. So when I tested Stemergen, I didn't want to swallow these capsules. And back last year, he only had one formula. It had the magnesium stearate in it with the colostrum. I'm fine with a little colostrum, but I don't like magnesium stearate. I don't normally do it. But his product is so special, and he's worked so hard to make these extracts. I'm like, I have to try it, even though it's got mag stearate. It's not 40% magnesium stearate or 30% like some cheap companies. It's only a low amount, like 3% or 5% or something, 2%. But I still don't like to take it. But I did make an exception for his product. And I opened up the capsules in my mouth, and I mouth swished and held it, and I felt it. It's first off, because I've ate so many herbs over the years, and I've opened up everything when I worked for Ron Teagarden at Dragon Herbs, everything at Erewhon I opened up. And every time I get a new lot batch of a special supplement, I open it up and I eat it. And I know if it changed or not, or if there's more filler, if the source is worse or better. There's no way to know. Sometimes it's the fastest way to test. And God bless you, Max, for staying up so late with me here. You're getting tired. I know it's getting past your bedtime. We're almost done. We're almost done. Cool. So I opened up Stemergen, the old classic formula from last year, 2 at a time. Mouth swish really strong and hard. Immediately I felt, what I felt is an immunological effect. I felt an antimicrobial effect. I felt it kill germs. I felt it lower any chronic infections that were in areas that were still lingering. I felt it boost energy and clarity. Okay, I definitely felt it. And I could immediate upon taste and texture, with my experienced tongue from supplements in the industry for 24 years, I knew this is a very potent, high quality extract. I knew it. Okay. And so I took 2 capsules twice a day, 3 months, mouse switched it, and I noticed some benefits. But as far as healing some injuries areas, or I still want to heal some spots, I didn't really notice any improvement in that. I was hoping for a little bit more. But the research he's done, watching all his stuff, it inspired me enough to create my own separate stem cell program. So I got the best sea buckthorn juice I could get by myself. And when I started to drink it whole and switch it around the fresh juice, I felt more from that. And I like all the other health benefits it does as the whole food form. And then I have known about glycoscience, glycobiology, glyconutrients for a long time, since I got turned onto it in 2007, working at Airone from a rep from Manatech. Okay, that's a big multi-level company that's been selling this. Their flagship product is Ambertose. Okay, and this was discovered early 80s when they found a way to make an extract from aloe vera. They found a compound in aloe vera that once it's cut and broken, it has a very short healing, a powerful healing effect, but for a very short amount of time, and then it's gone. They found a way to process an aloe vera leaf and preserve this compound, so that when the powder is reconstituted in water at any time, it's exactly identical to an immediately fresh cut aloe. And they discovered mannose, the first glyconutrient, a super sugar, a monosaccharide, or a disaccharide, a single sugar. And they discovered later on there were a few other super sugars that used to be in our diet that are now really deficient because of processed food. Mannose, xylose, fucose, N-acetylgalactosine, N-acetylpyranamic. There's like the big 8. There's 8 monosaccharides that are promoted when you learn about ambertose and glycoscience and glycobiology. And these are little sugars that are, if we look at the cell membrane, there is a glycoprotein. And there's a chain, little green dots coming off. There's a chain of little carbohydrates, these monosaccharides that come off this glycoprotein. And every cell has these carbohydrate chains, these glyconutrient that are like little hairs that are coming off the cell all the way around. And these little hairs, or these chains of glyconutrients, are used for cell-to-cell communication. They overlap each other and they touch each other, make like a network throughout the body, and this is how the cells communicate. And so they found that this super sugar, mannose from aloe vera, in high doses, they reverse HIV in some of the AIDS patients in the early 80s. They gave it to an infant who was born deformed without an esophagus. She was missing an entire organ in her body. She's not going to live. And they gave her this product, and it boosts pluripotent stem cells from the bone marrow 300%. In an infant, a lot more. That's in an adult, and in an infant, it's going to be a lot more. She grew back her esophagus. That's still recorded on the internet. You can find it. So in 2007, when I started learning about Manatech through a friend, a customer at the Tonic Bar who was a rep, he's like, Truth, you're really into all this health stuff. You should learn about glyconutrients, glycoscience, glycobiology. And I'm like, yeah. Somebody trying to sell me another thing at Airone. But, eventually I had to listen because he had some pretty powerful bits of information. And I'm like, wow, okay, there is something here. So I got to study this. And I started to research it. And from someone who's interested in anti-aging and longevity, from foods, from natural things, I was pretty blown away what I learned in the mid 2000s from Ambertose. And since then, I have found all these underground testimonials and videos that are hard to find on the internet. Stories, people on their deathbed, given an entire can a day of Ambertose. This is just aloe vera. I think it's the best aloe vera in the world for stem cells. Because this, I feel it a lot more than Stemmergen. Well, I feel Stemmergen is a different feeling, but it's only one of the 5 ingredients is the aloe macroclada that he's using. I would have to take that separately at a higher dose to try to distinguish like how much efficacy does this product have. But Ambertose I've known about for a long time. And people use this on death's door at high doses to bring them back to life. And people with very serious diseases that don't have long to live, but they know about the power of mega dosing Ambertose. They don't know all these other great things that I know. They may not know anything about metabolic therapy and the ketogenic diet and Thomas Seyfried and hydrogen and blah, 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 blah. But they learn, luckily, from a friend or a family member or a church member or something, they learn about the power of glycans, of ace-mannan. This is the raw special aloe vera extract that is the flagship product. I have no interest in all the other products that Ambertos makes. That's just all marketing. They spin off products, from the flagship product. This is the patented flagship original. I think it's the strongest, most powerful aloe vera in the world that increases pluripotent stem cells, not 25% like Climbers green algae, 300% from the bone marrow. And there's no limit to how much you can take. This will never hurt your liver or kidneys. Okay. So the Ambertos Life is the strongest one, the highest in glycans. This is the advanced Ambertos powder, but any one of the Ambertos powders, they don't do a capsule without magnesium stearate, so I don't like to do their capsules, but the powder. So I've learned, this is another example of how I learned how good this is. I think I told you when you did our last podcast years ago, how I had a brain injury. I went for a prolonged period of time with zero sleep. I experienced tremendous pain and even suicidal tendencies. I was terrified until I got healed and regained my sleep. One of the things I learned that saved me through that period, 3 months of almost total insomnia, multiple times I went 3 weeks with not 1 hour of sleep. It's the worst thing you could possibly imagine. When I was in the pain, like at the 2-week point, full body pain of no sleep, it's terrifying, that kind of trauma. I would take a level scoop of Ambertos, like a teaspoon, put the powder in my mouth, hold it. It's a mild, gentle tasting powder. It doesn't taste bad. Gather saliva, chew up the powder until it's liquidy. Once it's really liquid with my saliva, I'd swoosh it back and forth, and then I'd hold it tight under the tongue for as long as I could. Through this mucous membrane technique, because I've been working on this technique since 2012, really, I sort of started. Because I learned from old timers back in the day when I first started getting into health stuff, if certain supplements or juices or superfoods, royal jelly, if you hold it under the tongue and bypass the liver, go sublingual, you can enhance the product. Now, some products you don't want to do that. Some things you want to go through the digestive tract, but some products, if you get it in the bloodstream, you can really get the pharmacological effect of what that product can do. And it can be the complete difference between success or failure, is that absorption in a healing or in a challenge or in a goal for anti-aging. So when I was at 2 weeks with zero sleep in 2013, and the first time I took Ambertos, I had no idea I was going to do this. I was just desperately trying anything. When I mouth swished a whole scoop and I held it really long and good, in a few minutes, once it got into the brain, it fed my brain so many stem cells so quick and healed the brain so fast that all my sleep deprivation pain was gone for about a few hours. It literally grew back, because when you go that long without sleep, your brain is dying. You can't replenish those brain cells if you cannot fall asleep. And I severed nerves, cranial nerves. I lost the ability to close the brainstem to actually fall asleep neurologically. No matter how many sleeping pills I took, no matter how calm I got, no matter, could not fall asleep. So until I got my nerve healed, I was dying. I mean, that was scary. So my brain was in pain, 2 weeks, zero sleep. It's literally dying. It hasn't been able to sleep. It can't replenish cells. And I give it this aloe vera product, under tongue mouth swish. When you mix this with your saliva, it's going to turn like gel, because it's aloe vera. It gets like a gel. But these glycans, this ace-mannan, is so precious for nutrients, for immune system, for healing, for cell-to-cell communication. I found all these incredible stories. A woman's head went through a windshield in a car accident. She had these massive lacerations. The scars are going to be permanent and massive for life. And she mixed the Ambertos gel into water, make it concentrated, and applied it topically, and healed all of her skin. Like, I can go on and on and on. The stories are outrageous, what this stuff can do when you take enough of it. There's no amount that's too much. The more you take, the more stem cells you'll make, the more anti-aging you'll get. But it's not how you take it. It's not how much you take. It's how you administer it. I only need 1, 2, 3, 4 scoops a day. I don't have to take a can a day at $150 because of my delivery technique to get max potency.
Is
so
similar?
I'm sorry?
Does colostrum have a similar effect?
No, not that powerful, but there are some really good colostrum extracts that people have megadosed. I have heard some miracle stories of people regenerating cartilage or nerve damage and serious injuries. I'm talking like a kilo a day, colostrum powder, mouse wishing, tablespoon after tablespoon after tablespoon. That's a lot of pro-inflammatory dairy. Dairy has a lot of health problems. I don't like dairy. The only thing good out of dairy is fatty 15, which is a 15 carbon fatty acid that originally kind of was found from dairy. You can take separate. I do 2 fatty 15 per day because it's got many of the anti-aging biomarker pathways like rapamycin and metformin, and it's just a fatty acid that's natural. So it's part of my program for sure. But Christian's work really inspired me to create the most powerful natural stem cell program with foods that I can do. Now, a lot of people won't do this. His product's designed for someone to make it easy to just buy one product, one bottle of capsules, and just swallow 2 capsules once a day, or swallow 2 capsules 3 times a day for 3 months to get more of a healing power. And I think people like this woman who was someone who has a serious injury, they probably go up to, I don't know, 2 capsules every 2 hours all day long. If you could do that while fasting. I felt the absorption was too slow with swallowing Stemmergen capsules. So I tried, because after 3 months of mouse swishing opened up Stemmergen, I had a couple of side effects. The slight acidity of some of the extracts, it started to wear my teeth enamel a little bit, and they were getting sensitive, so I had to stop. Plus, it was staining my teeth dark, and it was hard to get them clean again. I still have to go get a professional teeth cleaning because I was mouse swishing Felinus mushroom last year a lot, and I love the effect, but it really made my teeth black, like a Jane pirate. And it doesn't look healthy when you meet strangers and you smile and you have black teeth. It looks like they're rotten. You have teeth like Captain Jack Sparrow. Pretty hilarious. I'm trying to laugh with my mouth closed. So I've had that happen before from herbs. I have to go to a dental hygienist, and they really don't like it because it takes them 2-3 hours with buffing my teeth, and they go white again. It's just herbs that are staining the outside of my teeth, and it comes right off. But I was making my teeth blacker, and it was making my teeth sensitive. So I stopped mouth swishing the Stemmergen, and I tried to swallow the capsules, but I don't feel it like I do when I open it up. So I was like, I'm going to open the Stemmergen into water and drink it. Then I felt it partially, not as good as mouse swishing, but it took longer. I had to wait a whole hour. So that added a whole hour in my program. My program's already pretty tight with me using every hour to take the best herb or supplement that's created in my program for my anti-aging longevity program. So I kind of gave up on the Stemmergen, and I decided to try getting all the separate products that are in Stemmergen, because I'm a tonic herbalist. I know how to get the best ginseng. And there's no deer antler in Stemmergen. I think there should be. So I added deer antler and ginseng together, and I made it liposomal for absorption. And I know about Manitech going back since the mid-2000s. And after researching Christian Terpo's work, I decided to go back and re-research ambertose more. And I'm even more convinced that this is one of the most powerful gifts to boost stem cells and anti-aging rejuvenation. If you know how to take it, you take enough of it. Okay. And so I got on this for my aloe. I got my ginseng from Dragon Herbs. This is an affordable but a potent ginseng. Red Chinese ginseng drops from Dragon Herbs. Tastes amazing. This is 8-year-old Julin province ginseng grown up in high altitude. It's organic. RB1, RB2 ginsenosides are balanced because this has been grown for 6 years. Not premature. Ginseng is one of the biggest scammed herbs in the world because the most famous herb there is. So you've got to get good ginseng. So I got ginseng. I've got my fucoidan. Okay. And I've got my aloe. And I bought sea buckthorn juice from the most reputable product, started drinking it whole and mouth swishing it. And I got my Klamath blue green algae, 2 tablespoons a day at separate times of the day to get waves, stem cells. And I added that to my program, and wow, I feel it. Now it's costing me a lot more money than taking Stemmergen. It's a lot more work and compliance to maintain that program. But my program is my life, and I work from home, so I can do it in my living space. And I've been working on programs ever since I was 30 years old as a full-time part of my daily life. My program is like a living meditation. This is something I really admire about the commitment of someone like Brian Johnson. How he surrenders to Blueprint as his program, like a Taoist. He doesn't question it. 5 o'clock Brian can't decide what he thinks he wants to eat. No, his choices of what he puts in his body is already predestined, it's mapped out. And he surrenders to it like a robot. He goes into automatic. There's a spiritual aspect to that. When you don't have to think, when you take away the monkey mind's addiction and its weak impulse personality ego to want to impulse eat and do this because it feels good right now, do that. You're just like a walking trash can hormone addict animal. You're going to kill yourself with bad habits. You need structure, you need knowledge, you need a routine, and you have to have a spiritual purpose while you follow it. And for me, if I didn't have a Taoist spiritual purpose to my program, I think it would be harder to follow it. When I'm inspired to be a biohacker and practice anti-aging, then I don't need a spiritual aspect because I'll do it. But the thing I find with most people is that inspiration can be short-lived. Maybe if you're watching a lot of podcasts, you're getting really into researching anti-aging, stem cells, biohacking, you get really motivated. You're like, I'm going to do a perfect program. I'm going to take the best stuff, do the best things for my health all day long, every day. But most people in the modern world can't keep that up. There's too many distractions from people in the matrix, family, people not on the program, people that don't believe it, naysayers, muggles, and other things that get their attention. And they get distracted and they drop the ball. They don't keep that level of commitment up. You have to be consistent. You have to find the perfect program for you and do it every single day the rest of your life. And for me, it's a passion and it's an excitement because I know I'm giving life to my body. That's the definition of being a Jing master, because the Jing is the source of life for the physical body. To master it means you're mastering the art of preservation, rejuvenation, restoration, and prolonging of life. You're mastering life because you're mastering Jing. And I love that Christian Dupo brought this up in one of his podcasts at the end of a long podcast he did with an Australian woman named Lisa. It was a very good podcast a year ago. He mentioned this professor from Harvard that contacted him after his book came out and said, what you're talking about with embryonic and adult stem cells is just like prenatal and postnatal Jing, or primordial Jing, original, or some Taoists call it the original Qi and the postnatal Qi. It's easier to build your postnatal Jing. With Jing herbs, stop leaking Jing, take Jing herbs, you build up, you get stronger from the core. And they help your stem cells. They help your kidneys. They help your sperm count. They help your bone marrow. Okay, they make you more virile. I've used these Jing herbs for people that can't get pregnant because I know they work on the reproductive level. The thymus gland, interesting how it's connected. You spill your sperm too often, your elevated sex hormones circulating throughout your body, what happens? Thymic involution. The higher the chronic sex hormones, whether you're having sexual fantasies or watching porno or just masturbating a lot or just having normal sexual activity because you think more is better. I've had some clients come to me and said, but Tony Robbins told me the secret to success was to have sex 2.5 times per week with my wife. I said, well, you're not going to live long if you do that because it's a finite energy. Is your Jing, your semen, your life force, your ability to create new life is your most precious, powerful resource. If I'm celibate for 2 months doing the 5 rites, taking Jing herbs, my genitals hit a maximum point of how much sperm they can make. And then the excess sperm gets regenerated, goes back into me to grow me younger instead of growing a new baby. And then my stem cells go up, my telomerase goes up. Okay. It's anti-aging stuff, but I only learned that from the Taoist perspective. Okay. Just like women age when they have babies, men age when they lose the sperm. Okay. And it's slow. The male andropause starts at 35 and it goes throughout your whole life until you croak. So if you want to grow younger, if you want to build your stem cells, want to build your Jing, you have to learn the art of not leaking Jing. And that's a personal decision. It'll be difficult for people. And I give people a different number for every year, decade. They're in their 20s and they really want to still have some sex. Say, try to keep it once a week and know how to replenish the energy with tonic herbs and the 5 rites. And if you're in your 30s, do it once a month. And if you're in your 40s, do it once every 3 months. And if you're in your 50s, don't do it, or do it once a year or once every 6 months because you're aging too fast. So when they did that study on the thymus gland, okay, where they took like a dozen 60-year-old men, they asked them to be celibate for 1 year. They put them on metformin, they put them on DHEA, they put them on human growth hormone, okay? And they measured their thymus glands all throughout the study. They became 2.5 years younger and their thymus gland grew back, got bigger.
Wow.
And from all the research I've found that the higher the sex hormones are, the more you have testosterone flowing at a high level because you're sexually active. You think about it, you're regularly having sex, you know, your body's prepared for the power of the reproductive act. It will draw from all of the resources to create new life. It's the most important thing. Nature doesn't care about you, it cares about your seed, your offspring. But what if you bypass nature's reward chemical program to say, have as much sex as you can? That's the program in the animal brain. Do what feels good, right? You keep doing it, you die faster. I bypass the program. Don't have sex. Don't have sex long enough that you prune that dopamine receptor and you're innocent, you're a virgin again, you're pure. You don't even think about sex. You don't miss it because you're not addicted. You
So
look at them.
So there's one question is about circulation of energy in the body, because a lot of people do have blockages in their physical bodies, or yeah, they have usually sort of something physical which will create an energetic, because it's all linked, of course. You know, they don't have a clean flow of energy in their body, and I think that goes for a lot of people, a lot of men as they age, and that's part of aging and just accumulating injuries and toxicity or whatever. When I say injuries, I just mean wear and tear in the whole body. So a lot of people do have, I mean, there's an energetic side to it, which is like the microcosmic orbit, you know, like we can with intention, we can move that energy, we can recirculate it with intention, but there's a physical side to it as well. Look, a lot of men have prostate issues, and they will probably use ejaculation as a way of freeing themselves from the discomfort.
And their prostate will get worse. So when I've had men go celibate and take prostate nourishing herbs like Romania, Jing herbs, their prostate gets better every time. And as soon as they go back to sex, it gets worse again because you're wearing out the reproductive system, the endocrine glands, endocrine system. But that same energy that's at the base of the spine that has the power to create new life, that's why sex is so seductive. Nature puts a reward chemical opiate as strong as heroin to tell you to want it.
Right.
Otherwise, it's messy business. People wouldn't have sex. When the creator gods created the bodies, they said, we have to make a reward. There's two rewards. We have one for food, because if we don't eat, we'll die. And eating is messy business too. Eat too much, food can be your friend, it can kill you, or it can kill you. Food can heal you, or it can kill you. It depends how much you eat and what you eat and when you eat. Okay, but the reward chemical opiate is the reason why you can kill yourself with food. If you get depressed and you eat a lot of food because it makes you feel better temporarily, because you're using it as a dopamine, as a drug, you can end up weighing 1,000 pounds in a decade and you can't walk and you can die. You can eat yourself to death. Or you can not eat food, you can overly fast to the point where you could also destroy yourself. But you eat the right perfect amount in the pulse pattern of the best foods on earth, like what we're talking about, the stem cell foods. And now you can help the body live the longest. There's no limit to how high you can go with health. There's no limit to how much health benefits that we can find on earth that are natural, that can imbue stem cells or life force to the body. But when you talk about the blockage of energy, we have to talk a little bit about the Kundalini for a second, because this same energy that creates new life that's down in the lower chakras, it's so powerful for reproduction. And it gives us such a spiritual experience when we use it. Because when we climax, when we orgasm through sex, that's when the portal is supposed to open between the man and the woman who are copulating. That opens the portal for the spirit from the non-physical, from another dimension, to come in and attach to the sperm and ova. And if the man and woman climax together in the act of making love, their crown chakras both open together, and they have a moment of Christ consciousness, of enlightenment. And seeking that enlightenment is the lure. It's the strawberry dangling in front of you. Why we want to keep having sex? It's because why do we do anything? Because we want to feel good. I want to feel good. You know what I mean? And when I talk to some clients, I tell them about the sexual thing and leaking Jing. Some of them are like, Truth, like, why would I want to live if I can't have sex? Like, it's one of the only few rewards and pleasures I look forward to in life. Like, to them, that's their decision. That's their free will. But everything that feels good is just a drug. It's just a chemical. It's relative. Meaning you can be addicted. If you live only for what feels good, you're living just on peptides, just on hormones. You're an animal. You really know better. Okay. And now all those animal programs are going to dictate your life. and you will destroy yourself with the things that you feel good. You don't know that there's a higher level. You got to use the higher intelligence that the brain gave you. So less is more. So you can use food as an example. You can keep eating and you keep eating and keep eating, and you get blunted by the dopamine. So you have to eat more to feel good again. So you up it and up it and up it until you actually destroy yourself. When you fast and stop eating and you go past hunger, when the sirtuins turn on the immortality genes, the autophagy kicks in and you get light, you get that Shen effect, that high. You get a spiritual experience. Okay. Because BDNF goes up, growth hormone goes up 2,000%, 72 hours into your fast. Now you're having a spiritual experience. You're feeling enlightened. Well, wait a minute. Maybe this enlightenment of no food feels better than just stuffing myself until I'm numb, drugged to the point. It's the same with sex. The longer you go without it, and then when you have it, when you have more jing and you're more sensitive, and your heart is pure, and you have sex out of love. Because the ascended masters say, you have sex without love, you damage the soul. That's why you feel guilt and shame after a one-night stand. Because you had sex with a stranger. You did one of the most sacred spiritual acts with a complete and utter stranger.
Wow.
And that's what happens when you masturbate online with porno. Is you're having sex, a sacred act, in a very unsacred way. Plus, it's aging. It's aging you, and you're creating more addiction to it. So, and you're creating a lot of free radicals. So we got to master all these chemicals. We're in a body. We live in a chemical world. Everything can become an addiction. This is one of the greatest things we have to learn, wisdom, to navigate through all the pitfalls of life, is to find every vice and every addiction and master them. Because you can have entertainment addiction, you can have TV addiction, you have shopping addiction, you can have sex addiction, food addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. It can go on and on. Supplement addiction. It can go on and on and on. And you're half God and you're half an animal, the same being. You have to, who's in charge? The chemicals or my higher knowing, my higher conscious, my higher intellect, my eternal self? You know what I mean? You got to be wise. So anyhow, it is connected to Jing, to stem cells. Absolutely. If you squander your Jing, have as much sex as you can, you're going to deplete your stem cell pool faster. And so they proved that with the endocrine system study, because these men that did that program for 1 year, their thymus glands grew back, got younger. They reversed immune senescence. The more sexually active you are, the faster the thymus gland shrinks. And when it gets down to 65, there's only like a P left. In a few more years, the thymus gland dies. Now you can never make a new T cell again to adapt to a new infection, a new germ. Now you can die of a common cold at 70 years of age. You could have lived a lot longer. They call that immune senescence. So it's another reason why you want to kind of conserve your sexual energy. If you're, and save your immune system for your longevity, save your youth for the things you want to do in your life, and build your stem cells more. So I think the practice of not leaking Jing, celibacy, and the 5 Tibetan rites, the Chinese tonic herbs, especially the Jing herbs, because they affect the bone marrow, the stem cells the most, especially Hushuwu, deer antler, Eucommia bark, Dendrobium, herb of immortality, and Chinese mountain ant, and deer placenta. Okay, so those I take almost every day. And then my aloe vera, my sea buckthorn, my fucoidan, my ginseng. And then what do I do next? 1 to 2 meals a day, short eating window of 1 to 4 hours, 90% raw plant food diet, probably 7% raw carnivore foods added in. Like I blend raw salmon and I make a soup with that, with some chlorella and greens. It's actually really quite good. I do a oyster drink, whole can of raw oysters, blended up with cilantro, chlorella to bind to the toxins because it's a filter fish. 500 milligrams of zinc, the astronaut dose of zinc in that one drink. Those are 2 raw carnivore meals that I add to otherwise a predominantly raw plant food diet with cultured foods. So make our own probiotic cream cheeses and sauerkrauts here that are phenomenal. My recipes that are going to be in the latest recipe book are delicious. I mean, the clients love it. I love it. I look forward to the food so much. And then there's only one cooked meat recipe I have, which is poached bison liver that I blend in the water with a few other ingredients, and I chill it till it gets gel hard, and it's a pate. It's like a spread. With the herbs and the other ingredients, you can't taste the liver at all. And it's smooth, and it's spread it on celery sticks, and I eat that once every 2 weeks. And those few animal foods are like supplements to my otherwise raw plant food keto diet. And this is how to have the lowest ApoB for the greatest longevity from the #1 killer, atherosclerotic cardiovascular heart disease, and the cleanest colon. So there's no colon clogging foods because I clean the colon deep. With the kits that I do, the cleansing, this is the stuff that comes out of people. In my biofilm cleanse kits. Okay, this is the mucoid ropes and plaque and stuff that comes out of people on these cleanses. When we really get the colon clean.
Wow.
It takes, I do each one of those cleanses in about 3 days, do one every month. You got to knock out like 6 of those cleanses. And of course, a colonics, a 1 month of Jula herbal fiber blend cleanse, plus this diet, the propensity for the human body to pack away toxins in every nook and cranny of the colon, the liver, gallbladder, and the organs, it's tremendous. People think what we eat goes out in the toilet every day. No, only some of what you eat goes out in the toilet, and some is digested, metabolized, and some is left within you, some trash, every single day of your life. And you kill yourself slowly, death by the fork, auto-intoxication, chromosome Quasimodo effect, you mutate, age from inside from toxins. So, to melt these stem cells, I want to make the most stem cells from my own bone marrow every single day for the rest of my life. What's the point if my body's going to be toxic and age from toxins anyway? How good can the stem cells really point your body? You need to know how to take care of your body on every level and maximize the stem cells. So once those stem cells leave the bone marrow, okay, the stromal-derived factor 1, the SDF1, is the compound that he talks about that binds it the stem cell to the bone marrow. When that's that GCSF, that granulocyte colony stimulating factor, that's the signal that gets released, that chemical, from an injury site. And when that reaches the bone marrow, it dissolves the SDF1, and then it releases the stem cell, goes into circulation. If I'm on a raw diet, I drink 3 liters of structured hydrogen water all at once per day. I take systemic enzymes every day to keep the arteries and the capillaries clean. And I use the Avicin for microcirculation. That's a great technology. Just put your hand in the box, dry heat therapy, 20, 30 minutes once in the morning, 20, 30 minutes, other hand once at night. Super calming, parasympathetic, but it opens all the capillaries, or capillaries, as you say in the home country, throughout the whole body. When those stem cells leave the bone marrow and they circulate, you need a clean bloodstream.
Absolutely.
So that they can get, and it's at the junction. He explains this really well in his podcast. The junction where the capillary meets the vein is the only spot in the whole blood system of your plumbing that the stem cell can leave the blood vessel and go into the tissue. It's following that signal of the SGF1 to go to that injury site and heal. So if his product at 2 capsules releases 10 million stem cells, even 5 to 10 million, somewhere in that range, and suppose you're taking his product, if you were going to take his product, I'd recommend the Stemregen Release Sport. It's one of his new formulas. I think he's had people complain about the magnesium stearate. That product doesn't have the mag stearate, and it doesn't have the colostrum, so the vegans can take it.
Yeah.
And it's got a little bit more of the other ingredients, those main 5 that I listed. So I would take that product if you want the best. I would take his product 2-3 times a day. I'd open up the capsules in a drink and drink it on empty when fasting, or at least once a day. And I would recommend what I'm doing, which is taking the best known individual superfoods and herbs that are going to boost stem cells even more. If those products have pleiotropic effects, which they all do, every single one of those stem cell releases I talked about has a broad overlapping array of other health benefits. And each time you take each one properly, you feel it. When you feel it, you're like, okay, I'm gonna take it again. I want to take it again. I know this is working. If I feel it, it has to be doing something. Okay, something. And then you do the research and you go, aha, look at all these things this does. This has been known about for a long time. So I'm not guinea pigging this blind. Now you can increase your stem cells the most. And then once you got your blood vessels clean and your capillaries clean, and then you've got healthy collagen in the muscles that's there or surrounding the capillary that's younger, less scar tissue, then those stem cells can do their magic, do their work. You keep them growing. And it's a good thing. It's a real gift, because then one stem cell, if you're making what the average adult has, like I think Christian Derpos said around between 8 to 12,000 stem cells in their body at any one time. If you quadruple that every day, all day long, and one stem cell can make 1,000 to 5,000 new cells for that organ, and every organ's getting that many stem cells every single day, all day long, and it's completely doable. It's not that expensive compared to getting on an airplane every 3 months and flying to Panama to do Neil Roden's stem cell injections, or going to Kyiv, Ukraine, and doing M cells, fetal stem cells, $30,000 a pop. You know, I can't tell you how many clients over the years, as I got excited about these expensive exogenous stem cell therapies, they weren't in my budget. I didn't do them. I've done stem cells from my own fat, saw a short-term effect, but quickly within a few days, it's gone. I couldn't find any, for the thousands of dollars I spent, I couldn't justify that. I could have bought all these supplements I'm taking now and had enough for months, and that I will feel, okay? But I've consulted some rich clients who can pay for anything. And I said, you know, since money's no issue for you, the stem cell world shows a lot of potential. It's exciting. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try M cell for $30,000? I've had some of them do that and no noticeable results. You know, it's disappointing for that kind of money. I'm sure it's helping something, but I think it's better to do what you have control over naturally, that doesn't traumatize the body in any way, that you can do on a daily basis, because you need stem cells every day, not once a year. And so this is the way, boost your own stem cells. It's life. And as you learn about the body, listen to all the Christians' podcasts, learn about how stem cells work, learn about the body, understand the importance of your vascular system, dissolve the fibrin, the scar tissue, the plaque that's in your arteries, so the stem cells can circulate, clean your lymph system. You can do niacin, pharmaceutical grade niacin, vitamin B3, the flushing form. We do that here in the Gin Cave. Start off with a 1/4 teaspoon, straight into the tongue, hold it tight for 30 minutes, swallow. You get a niacin flush, the red prickly sensation. That's all the capillaries, the capillaries opening up, dumping toxins. But as they get clean and stay clean on a good program, now your stem cells are going to deliver to tissue better, to all the sites they want to get to. They're going to mobilize better to their destination. So it's you learn everything about health, all the separate areas, and start applying all of them and put them together, that are all into one cohesive program. They flow together, kind of like Bruce Lee did with all these different forms of martial arts. He took them apart and found a hybrid, like created a system, a flow that was the most efficient beyond the dogma of any one system. It's the same in the health world. People can get dogmatically stuck in one area. And when you learn how to blend the best ones together and step back from the broadest bird's eye view and look at your overall program that you're doing, how you're living every single day. To do this, first off, you have to decide that I love life. If you don't know if you love life long enough, you don't know if you want to live that long, maybe you're depressed, maybe you've thought about leaving life, giving up on life, or just committing suicide, or voluntary euthanasia, a slow way to commit suicide. Just eat a lot of junk food and watch TV. Rot your brain, fill your body with trash and hormones and superficial hormones and drugs, become addicted, numb yourself with so much shit out there in the modern matrix that's designed for mass pop controlling, you name it. Numb yourself so much with that trash that you can cover it. Cover the wounds, cover the disappointment, the lack of pain Maybe you're unhappy because you didn't achieve your dreams thus far in your life. Maybe you've got traumas unresolved. There's lots of issues. You have to decide, do I want to destroy myself or do I want to live?
Mm.
There's no right or wrong in either one because you're already eternal. There's no such thing as death. You'll leave the body, you'll see the light. Everyone, even if you're a bad person, like really bad, there are still people on the other side that love you. And they will be there when you leave this body. And the light will open and you have the choice to go into the light. And then there's no pain in your physical body if you have trauma, if you have pain. But that's the key. If you decide for life instead of self-destruction and death and leaving or giving up on this body, some people give up on this body. They're not going to kill themselves, but they're stuck here until they die. They'll try and help other people because they believe that other people can succeed and have a healthy life and be happy and achieve their dreams. But for some reason, they feel it's too late for them. I've met those people before. I've tried to work with them.
Mm.
And they feel like, I've been through too much, or I've made mistakes, or they have too much guilt, too much shame, or they have abuse, or that was so deep and old they can't heal it, or they have addiction that's so severe they can't give it up. But they're still a good person. So while they're here, they're trying to help others. And then they laugh at me and say, oh, no, Truth, it's too late for me. Don't try to heal me. But, I want to do something good while I'm still here. I'll try to help others. It's sad. That can happen.
It happens a lot, I think. Yeah.
So you have to get clear of all the junk that's clouding your mind to think right. You got to meditate. You got to detox. You got to stop watching the TV. You got to stop putting crash in your body just to get clear-minded enough to ask the deep questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What do I want? If I am source energy in this physical body, I'm an eternal being. I am love. I am beautiful. I am a God. I am sovereign. I have free will. If my life experience in this body is not how I want it, I can change it. I can improve. I can always improve. And if I get really good at improving, I can improve a lot more, a lot faster, to the point where I have everything I want. There's nothing I can't manifest or create. There's no victimization now. I am in absolute responsibility and control of the absolute perfect life. So if I am that, why would I just choose destruction? That's just lack of knowing the laws of how to play the game in life.
Like a lot of people go for a certain amount of time without feeling alive, without feeling vitality. They will go for a certain, and then there's a threshold where I think a soul will start to be in the area of making a decision of like, okay, maybe I'm okay living this life. And then, like what you're mentioning, they will be fine. They'd like to help other people because they can still do that. But yeah, it's sad because this body is extremely precious. Like this so the amount of beings that are in the non-physical that probably would love to have our experience in these bodies, I mean, I agree with everything you said. It's just so precious.
That's why in Taoism, there's a third treasure called Shen, the spirit. And really good healers that work on multiple levels, like Bruce Hoffman, for instance, he has a really in-depth 7-layer system way beyond mine. They understand the psychological, the emotional aspect to health and healing. And it's deep. It's deep. Recall healing. There's an emotional cause for everything.
Mm.
If you don't heal the Shen, what's the point? What's the point?
Mm.
If you have toxic Shen, damaged Shen, addiction, lack of love, abuse, you don't want to live long. You want to be released, get out of the body, because you get a reboot when you croak. You go back to non-physical in your spirit, you can start over and have a fresh slate, and try to do better. But I don't think anything is wasted. I think we're meant to try to, I think our soul is urging us to evolve as far as we can in this lifetime. Not just for our own vanity and ego to be younger and have more stem cells and live longer, but to find your purpose and of who I am and to contribute to the oneness that you are with others, to help uplift this plane, to bring heaven on earth in your own small way, raise the vibration on this plan. Okay. But when your Shen is toxic, and if your body's also toxic and beat up, It's hard to feel divine. It's hard to bring heaven on earth because you don't feel good emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. You have a spiritual malaise in your soul and you're trapped here, and it can be a nightmare. And this is why the spiritual healing, the emotional healing, nature is the power source for this. But this is why I see it, and I've experienced it myself and in my clients. Some clients won't, I can't talk to them about this spiritual stuff. It's not scientific enough. It sounds crazy. So it's okay. I don't have to talk about it because you can't separate spirit from anything. That's the truth. So if all I do is focus on their body, make them feel better. And I know things that make people feel better. I'm good at this. Been doing it a while. So when they give me permission to help them detox and improve the energy in their body and help them feel better, guess what? The spirit always starts to elevate. Their attitude improves. Their mood improves. They get nicer. They get happier. And to everyone in their relationships that they're in their life. And now we're starting to get somewhere. And now they're open to making more changes to the body because it's improving their life more than just physically. The temple is the instrument which allows source to come in. Consciousness is the product. Mind is the product of consciousness flowing through the brain. So your brain, Eric Braverman in his book says the human body is a golden globe, a silver cord, a few connections, and the rest is just meat. The golden globe is the highest frequency organ because it's connected to source. It's a transmitter and receiver for quantum universe, energy, consciousness, and God. So it's like when you buy a speaker system. My dad was an audiophile. He had the most expensive, like complex, old school electrostatic, all tube amps, stereo systems that he collected and worked on over the years and years of his life. And so he had these short, it's called vampire wire. It's really thick speaker wire, and they're really short. So you don't lose any of the electrical signal between the amps, the tube amps, power amps, preamps, and the actual big giant electrostatic speakers. These were made like in the 50s, old school speakers. If you buy cheap, you go down to an electronics store like Radio Shack, but they don't exist anymore, and you buy cheap speaker wire for $10, and they're really thin. And you hook that up to a nice stereo system, or you buy the vampire wire, the really expensive good stuff. You're going to notice a difference in the sound quality, right? Well, if your nervous system, the central nervous system of the brain, is clogged up, it's dirty, you have poor lipids, no phospholipids, and no cell membranes, you got heavy metals, arsenic, lead, cadmium, you got TBIs, you got inflammation, you got viruses in the brain, you've got plaque, you've got, your speaker wire is thwarted. The signal of source of who you really are outside your body, of God, coming through this, amalgamating to the experience of self in this body, it's not very good because the connection is not clean. When you clean the brain and you heal the central nervous system, okay, and now the signal's clean and clear. Everything changes. The senses change. You can see better. You can hear better. You smell things. You feel pure and innocent. You feel alive. You feel like a kid again. You feel the call to life, just like a child, pure, innocent child. What I'm saying is that through physical detoxification of the brain and body and the lower brain and upper brain, you can restore your innocence. You can heal emotionally. You can forgive. That's how powerful it can be. And then you can want to live life, and you can start to love life again like a pure, innocent child. That's how powerful detoxification is in health. Stem cells are just one part. And to feel the jing, when people's been burnt out, they burnt the candle at both ends, they're drained, they're exhausted, burnout, adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, jing deficiency. I take those people, calm them down, stop the stress so they don't leak more jing, and then put jing herbs back in like a wilted plant. Just soak up tonics, cook bulk herbs, make jing cappuccinos. Like, this is my latest Jing City mix. The latest version is the Jing Cappuccino. This is my best formula ever, with all the Taoist tonic herbs mixed with MCT powder, so it's keto, and chaga, and to make it taste like coffee. This is an herbal coffee replacement with all the best anti-aging Jing herbs that boost stem cells and telomeres. So I'll make them Jing cappuccinos. I'll boil up bulk herbs, like all these bulk herbs on these posters here. Okay, from Ron Teagarden. These are his posters. These are all Jing herbs. These are all Shen herbs. And those are all Qi tonics. I have all those herbs here. And I get the full bulk herbs and I put them in glass pots. And I boil and cook and make these soup tonics. And when I take someone who's that depleted, they're on death's door, they're drained, and I give them gin tonics, soups a couple times a day, and cook them with bone broth, delicious, and gin caps. And then I make them the liposomal diet, their ginseng drinks, give them all these things. You can reverse that depletion. You can bring back the life force. And when they feel that life force come back, it's like, oh my God, I haven't felt like that since I was for years or when I was younger. And now the battery's not burned out. Now I suddenly decide I want to live. When you're burned out and frazzled and hanging on a thread with your gin, there's no quality of life. And you're afraid of any tiny stress because you know you're hanging on a thread of gin. Once a little too much stress, that thread will cut. You'll die from stress. You run out of gin, you're dead. When Hans Seal, the famous endocrinologist, did the stress tests on mice, stress them long enough until they hyperventilate, and then their endocrine glands atrophy and shrink, and their vital organs shrink, and then they die. You can stress yourself to death if you want to. But reacting to outside stimuli in life as stress is a conditioned response. You can change that. If you're a God, if you create reality, you don't have to stress for anyone or anything because you can determine, I want enough time for everything. I want enough money for everything. I want enough herbs, enough health, enough whatever it is. You create the nature of your reality.
I agree 100%. Thank you for that's a really beautiful note to conclude on. Actually, I think how do you,
Maybe a good finishing point.
yeah, I feel there's a really upbeat and realistic, and truth. That was true. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to thank. I actually haven't drunk anything. But I need to hydrate. I'll drink some.
Yeah, it's late. My gosh, what time is it there? It's 5 o'clock here, so it's got to be 3 in the morning.
Something like that. What is it?
Oh,
No, it's only one. It's only 1 o'clock.
okay.
But
Okay.
I want to, yeah, thank you, Truth, for sharing so generously. And
Well, thank you for doing this podcast because I'm not in the limelight anymore really these days. I'm very kind of underground, so I don't get asked to do podcasts very often at all, and so it's a real blessing to share.
well, it's a blessing for all because, yeah, I mean, you're unique in how you share because it's like it streams through you. It's almost a really perfect example of what you were just mentioning of you've embodied everything you've been talking about and through years of experience, and your channel is very clear and clean, so that it's a very clean flow and a very generous and sensitive and considered, and yeah, man, thank you. You're a rare one, and
Well, thank you, and you got some editing work to do now, and let me know how the editing goes, and I look forward to let me know when it comes out. I have an email list of like 400 clients from latter years, so all my private clients, and I'll send out the podcast to all my clients
awesome. Yeah, I'll let you know.
because they may learn some things and appreciate it, and this could be a little bit of good pre-exposure to people what I'm doing before I finish my book in the next 2-3 months, and then I'm gonna pay for the first print run, and then I'm gonna launch a new website. I've got jingmaster.com as well as thejingmaster.com. Right now, it's just thejingmaster.com. That's just a consult page, application page for new consultations. I could mention that, by the way, you could edit this into the video, is that if someone wanted to reach out and ask me a question or maybe book a consultation, I offer different options, different packages, different price ranges for different people. They can go to thejingmaster.com, Truth Calkins. They could search my name, and they can fill out the application page, and I'll get an email, and I can reach out to them.
Awesome. Thank you.
But in the coming months, I'll have the new website, jingmaster.com, with the Jing Cappuccino and a few other products and my book available. And I'll start doing some video content after that to teach my programs and my protocols and what we're doing here. And I'll start uploading those. And so I would like to do more podcasts and share more stuff to reach the people that are interested.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's a distillation of it's very precious, helpful information, you know, and you've synthesized so much. So it's a lot. I know a lot of people are eagerly awaiting your book, and so that will be.
Well, I hope you don't have too much trouble with all the editing, all these different videos.
Well, the next one we'll do, it will be a clean, you know, if you want to do another one in the future.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, just come up with a subject and I'll try and not deviate too much, and so we can get it out faster.
No, this is really, really all on one great subject, which is stem cells. So, and it's a big, you know, it's exciting in so many ways, and it's getting more accessible, or it's just very accessible to everyone if they know what to do, as you say. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. I better let you go. You better get some sleep.
thanks, man. Okay.
All right, man. Take care.